1.3 million turning into 2 million in a flash made Elaine overjoyed. She couldn't believe it. She immediately turned to Harley, her face full of surprise, and asked, "This 2 million, it's really for me?" Harley nodded quickly. "Of course, it's all yours." "Oh, this is amazing." Elaine was thrilled. Seeing Elaine get $2 million back, $700,000 more than her initial investment, the other seniors went wild with excitement. They figured if she got all her money back with a profit, they should too. So a few of them stepped forward and asked, "Mr. Fitzpatrick, what about our money?" Mr. Fitzpatrick quickly looked over at Orville. Orville hated the idea of giving back money he'd already pocketed, but he had offended Charlie's family. His life could be on the line. He couldn't afford to be cheap now. He blurted out, "Give it all back." Out of respect for Mr. Charlie, everyone gets their money back, with all the profits. The crowd erupted in cheers, but then Charlie's voice cut through the noise, cold and sharp. "Mr. Orville, these people have nothing to do with me. What do you mean you're doing this out of respect for me? Are you trying to guilt-trip me into this?" Orville was taken aback. "Mr. Charlie, what do you mean? I'm a little confused. I don't understand." Charlie said, "Their money has nothing to do with me. If you want to give it back, give it back. If you don't, then don't. But if you dare say you're doing it for me, don't be surprised when I turn on you." These seniors had been mocking him with Elaine just a few minutes ago. Why should he help them get their money back now? In fact, not only was he not going to help them, he was going to make it clear to Orville that refunding their money would be a big mistake. It would offend him. Orville got the message loud and clear. "Mr. Charlie, don't worry. I understand." Then he turned to Harley and ordered, "Only refund Mr. Charlie's mother-in-law's money. No one else gets a dime." What? The seniors who had just been celebrating went ballistic. Some started crying and wailing. Some of them started begging Charlie for mercy, but he completely ignored them. This bunch of disrespectful old folks had sneered at and insulted him. Now that they saw he had power over Orville, they expected him to help them? Were they kidding? Seeing the seniors completely lose their minds, Orville suddenly shouted, "All of you, shut the hell up! Anyone says one more word to bother Mr. Charlie, and I'll take care of you myself." The group of seniors immediately fell silent, not daring to say another word. Orville then looked at Fred White, who was standing there completely stunned. He asked carefully, "Mr. Charlie, this guy here, is he a friend of yours?" Charlie glanced at Fred. Fred immediately started begging, "Charlie, please, help me. Tell Mr. Hudson we're good friends, please." Charlie snorted coldly and said to Orville, "I don't know this person. You just continue to fulfill your promise. Let him go when you're done with him." Orville understood immediately. He ordered his men, "Damn it, give him some more." "This punk. Just looking at him pisses me off." Fred wailed in terror, "Charlie! I was a fool. I was so stupid. I beg you to help me, please. I'm begging you." Charlie looked at him and said coldly, "We're not related. We're not friends. I don't owe you anything. But you mocked me over and over again, and now you're asking me to save you? Get real. Stop dreaming." Fred completely fell apart, crying, "Charlie, I really know I was wrong. Please, just help me." Seeing the dark look on Charlie's face, Orville immediately yelled at his men, "Damn it, what are you guys waiting for? Why aren't you doing anything? Are you looking for trouble?" Several of his men snapped to attention. They grabbed Fred by his neck and hair, and the sound of slapping echoed through the room. Fred's mouth was soon full of blood and a few broken teeth, but the beating didn't stop. Every slap was incredibly hard. Orville turned to Charlie with a smile. "Mr. Charlie, are you satisfied with this?" Charlie nodded. "Okay, that's enough. I have to go." Orville quickly handed his business card to Charlie respectfully and said, "Mr. Charlie, this is my contact information. If you need anything in the future, just let me know. I'll be there on call." Charlie grunted, taking the card and putting it in his pocket. Then he turned to his mother-in-law, Elaine. "Mom, it's getting late. Let's go back." Even though Elaine had been slapped a few times, she had made $700,000 in the end. So she was grinning from ear to ear. She was also beaming with pride, seeing how her son-in-law commanded so much respect. Charlie took the money and helped Elaine leave. The other seniors all gathered around Charlie. One of them said with a hopeful tone, "Oh, Charlie, it was your auntie who messed up earlier. We didn't expect you to be so impressive, so young and promising. Yeah, Charlie, you're a real talented guy, a cut above the rest. My son-in-law is nothing compared to you," another added. "Do you think you could help us? Just talk to Harvey and ask him to give us our money back. It's all our hard-earned savings." Charlie frowned and said coldly, "Why should I help you? Weren't you all looking down on me just a little while ago? If you want your money back, go ask your own perfect sons-in-law for help." After saying that, he just walked away. Hearing this, everyone was filled with regret. They could only blame themselves. The chance to get their hard-earned money back was completely gone. Thinking of this, some of them slapped themselves hard across the face. One man collapsed to the ground in despair, wailing, "That was my nest egg! My life savings, it's all gone!" But there was nothing they could do. They could only blame their big mouths and the fact that they didn't have a son-in-law like Charlie. On the way home, Elaine turned to Charlie with a huge, fawning smile. "Charlie, how on earth do you know Orville Hudson? Why was he so polite to you?" Charlie just laughed it off. "Me? How would I know a guy like that? I just made a call to a buddy from school, and he was the one with the connections to get Harley to refund the money." When Elaine heard this, she looked disappointed. She was hoping Charlie had some secret power she didn't know about, but it turned out he just had to ask someone else for help. A lot of the excitement she felt vanished in an instant. But still, she got her money back and even made an extra $700,000, which made her feel a little better about Charlie. She leaned in and said to him, "Charlie, you have to keep what happened today a secret for your mom. Don't tell anyone, okay? A woman my age still has her pride, you know." Charlie smiled, a little helpless, but he had no choice but to agree. "I know, Mom." After dealing with his mother-in-law's drama, she took the cash and happily went to the bank to make a deposit. Charlie went straight home. When he walked in, he saw his wife Claire's shoes by the door and knew she was back, so he headed to the bedroom. As soon as he entered, he saw Claire hanging up the phone, a look of surprised excitement on her face. He asked curiously, "Hey, who was that?" Claire said excitedly, "It was my good friend Elsa Gardner. Do you remember her?" "I remember," Charlie nodded. "We went to college together in Oris Hill. She's from that big family in Eastcliff, right?" "Yes," Claire said. "Elsa's family is a big deal in Eastcliff." Charlie smiled and asked, "So, what's up? Is she coming to Oris Hill to visit?" Claire shook her head. "Not just to visit. She's moving here for a job," Charlie asked with suspicion. "She's from a family like that. Why would she leave their business to come work all the way out here in Oris Hill?" "I don't really know," Claire admitted. "She said she's going to work at the Grand Group. As for why she'd come so far to work there, I have no idea." Charlie nodded, but a thought crossed his mind. The Gardner family might not be on the same level as the Wade family, but they still have plenty of influence in Eastcliff. Elsa has no reason to give up her family's company to come work for the Grand Group. Is there some other reason this woman is coming to the Grand Group? Charlie was puzzled, but he couldn't be sure yet. He figured that once Elsa started at the Grand Group, Doris could probably figure out what she was really up to. Just then, Claire seemed to remember something. She patted her forehead and said, "Oh, by the way, Charlie, I have a meeting with someone from the Grand Group tomorrow that I can't get out of. can you pick Elsa up from the airport for me? And maybe find a nice place to take her for a welcome dinner or something?" Charlie promised. "Sure, I'll make the arrangements for tomorrow. And find a good place," Claire added. "Don't worry about the cost. Here, take my card." With that, she handed him her wallet. Charlie quickly waved her off. "No, it's okay. I actually know a guy who owns a really nice restaurant. I can arrange it." Charlie pulled out his phone, thinking he'd text Isaac Craven at Aurelius Grand and ask him to set up a dinner. But then he reconsidered. Aurelius Grand was supposed to be a surprise for his wife. To entertain Elsa, it would be better to pick a different spot. So, he sent a text to Orville Hudson instead. "I need to host a dinner for a friend. Can you book me a table at a high-end place, just not at Aurelius Grand?" A moment later, Orville texted back. "Don't worry, Mr. Charlie. I own a place called The Mansion. It's one of the top restaurants in Oris Hill, right up there with Aurelius Grand. I'll get you our best private room, the Diamond Box, and make sure you get top-notch service." Charlie replied with just one word: "Okay." The next day, Claire was at the M Grand group all day, busy working out the details of their new partnership. Charlie called Doris and asked her about Elsa's new job. Doris was surprised that Charlie even knew about it. She explained that Elsa had applied for a position as an administrative director, which was a mid-level management role. Her resume looked great, so the company decided to hire her. In fact, she'd already been officially appointed a few days ago. So Charlie asked her to keep an eye on this woman once Elsa started, and to let him know if anything seemed off. After talking with Doris, Charlie grabbed a cab that afternoon and headed to the airport, ready to pick up Claire's best friend, Elsa. He had just gotten out of the cab and was about to head into the arrival hall when a luxury car screeched to a halt right in front of him. Claire's cousin, Harold, stuck his head out the window, scowling at Charlie. "Charlie, what are you doing here?" "I'm here to pick up a friend of Claire's," Charlie said, frowning. He noticed the other people in the car were familiar faces too: Gerald and Wendy. Harold scoffed. "You mean Miss Gardner, right? We're here to take care of her, so you're not needed. Get lost." Charlie snorted coldly. "If anyone should get lost, it's you." With that, Charlie ignored them and walked straight into the arrival hall. Harold looked like he was about to start cursing, but Wendy, sitting next to him, quickly reminded him. "Brother, Elsa will be here any second. Grandma told you to make a good impression. If you can get her to marry you, our family's status would be unmatched. Don't let this loser ruin it." That snapped Harold back to reality. He'd almost forgotten the main reason he was here today. Picking Elsa up was just part of it. The real goal was to impress her and, hopefully, win her over. The Gardner family's influence in Eastcliff is huge. If he could marry into that family, it would put them on a whole new level. The Wilson family's fortune would skyrocket. So, he swallowed his anger at Charlie, and the three of them quickly got out of the car and rushed into the arrival hall. Just then, they spotted an incredibly eye-catching, beautiful young woman in the crowd. She had long, chestnut-colored hair and wore a white skirt that perfectly highlighted her amazing figure. Even though she had on sunglasses, you could see her skin was porcelain white, and her lips were a fiery red. Her beauty and charm were impossible to miss. Looking closer, she was just as beautiful as Claire, though they each had their own unique style. For a moment, everyone in the arrivals area seemed to have their eyes fixed on her. Harold was completely stunned. Even Gerald, who was just there for the show, was shocked. He couldn't help but sigh. Wow, girls from Eastcliff really have a different vibe. Just then, Elsa spotted them and hurried over, waving. "Gerald, Wendy, and Charlie, long time no see. Harold's heart was racing with excitement. He jumped in first. "Long time no see, Elsa. You look amazing." Charlie smiled. "Long time no see." Harold quickly cut in again. "Elsa, since I knew you were coming, I booked a private room at the best hotel in Oris Hill. We're all set to go. We can head over now." Elsa glanced at Charlie, then turned back to Harold apologetically. "Harold, I'm so sorry. I already made plans with Claire and Charlie. Let's reschedule for another day. I'm going to be in Oris Hill for a long time, so we'll have plenty of other chances." Hearing that, Harold's heart filled with anger. On such an important day, Charlie, that useless freeloader, had to show up and ruin everything. It was just awful. So, he said deliberately, "Elsa, to welcome you properly, I booked the Gold Box at the mansion. It's the most famous restaurant in Oris Hill. It has a minimum spend of $300,000. As he spoke, he shot Charlie a smug look and grinned. "I have no idea where my stay-at-home brother-in-law is taking you for dinner. I just hope it's not some cheap place. That would be a huge insult to you, wouldn't it?" Charlie was a little surprised to hear that Harold's choice was the mansion. What a coincidence, he thought. Wasn't it Orville Hudson who said he owned the mansion? And it seemed he had also arranged a dinner there for him. Just then, Gerald, who was standing to the side, looked shocked. "Harold, you actually managed to book the Gold Box at the mansion? That's not something just anyone can reserve." Harold smiled smugly. "Honestly, besides the top diamond box at the mansion, which I can't book, everything else is no big deal." Of course, this was just Harold bragging. The truth was, to get the Gold Box, Mrs. Wilson had to personally pull some strings and pay a lot of money to make it happen. Elsa had heard of the mansion back in Eastcliff and quickly said, "We're all friends. There's no need to be so fancy." Harold said dismissively, "You're an honored guest. We can't treat you like just any other friend." Then he turned to Charlie again. "So, brother-in-law, where did you book your dinner?" Charlie said calmly, "What a coincidence. I also booked a table at the mansion." Harold burst out laughing. "Charlie, you really have no shame, do you? You couldn't even get a reservation for the bronze box at the mansion, and you have the nerve to lie about it here?" Charlie smiled coolly. "Whether I'm bluffing or not, what's it to you? I'm not inviting you to dinner. Don't you have anything better to do?" Harold said coldly, "Yeah, right. A guy like you wouldn't even be allowed in the front door of the mansion." Elsa couldn't stand seeing them gang up on Charlie. She knew he was a live-in son-in-law with no money or position in the Wilson family. It was totally unrealistic to think he could afford a top-tier restaurant. She figured Charlie was just saying it to save face. So, not wanting him to be completely humiliated, she stepped in. "Hey, there's no need to argue about this. If you all booked the same place, then we should just go together." Harold sneered at Charlie. "All right, for Elsa's sake, I'll let you tag along for a meal. You can see what a real high-end restaurant looks like for once." Charlie just scoffed and ignored him. Orville would get on his knees the second he saw him, so what did he care about this restaurant Orville owned? Too bad an idiot like Harold was completely clueless. The mansion was a beautiful, traditional Chinese-style hotel. The decor was filled with classic charm and was incredibly luxurious. Even the sign out front was carved from high-quality golden oak. Charlie looked around at the decorations inside the mansion and was a little surprised. He hadn't expected Orville's restaurant to be this nice. He thought he might bring his wife here sometime. Elsa looked around and exclaimed, "I'd heard about the mansion all the way back in Eastcliff, and it definitely lives up to the hype." Harold smiled and said, "Well, when you're in town, Elsa, you deserve the best." Then he glanced over at Charlie and sneered. "Not like some people. If it wasn't for you, they'd never get the chance to set foot in a place like this in their entire lives." Wendy chimed in, deliberately trying to put him on the spot. "Charlie, didn't you say you booked a table at the mansion too? Which room is it? Go on, show us. We're dying to see." Charlie said calmly, "I don't remember the specific room. I just texted the owner and asked him to set something up. Let me check my messages." Harold scoffed. "Do you have any idea who the owner is? Cut the crap. The owner here is the famous Mr. Orville Hudson. You better watch what you say. If Mr. Hudson heard you talking like that, he'd have your head." At that moment, Charlie pulled out his phone, checked the text message Orville had sent him last night, and said casually, "He said he reserved the diamond box for me." When Harold heard Charlie's words, he burst out laughing. "The diamond box? Charlie, you're going to make me die laughing. Do you know who gets to go to the diamond box? Only the most powerful people in Oris Hill can get in there. Maybe 10 people total. You're so full of it." Elsa had been quiet, but she couldn't help thinking that Charlie was way too concerned with saving face. How could someone like him possibly get a reservation for the diamond box? She always knew he didn't have money or influence and was a bit of a loser, but she never thought he'd be this vain. What a disappointment. Charlie just laughed and didn't say a word. To him, the people making fun of him were just a bunch of idiots, and he couldn't be bothered to engage with them. Gerald also said, sarcastically, "Charlie, even my dad can't get a table in the diamond box. Who do you think you are?" Wendy echoed, "Gerald's right. Forget about eating in the diamond box. A guy like him isn't even worthy of eating their scraps." Charlie looked at Gerald and couldn't help but sneer. What an idiot. Mr. Hudson had just beaten up his brother yesterday, and here he was, bold enough to come to his restaurant for dinner. So he asked, deliberately, "Hey, Gerald, I heard something happened to your brother yesterday." Gerald frowned. "How do you know about that?" "My brother was attacked yesterday. He's still unconscious. We're trying to find out who hurt him and stripped him. Do you know anything?" Charlie shook his head, playing dumb. "No idea. I just heard something happened to him, but I don't know the details." Gerald said with contempt, "You're trash. Keep the White family's name out of your mouth. Next time, I won't be so polite." Charlie just smiled and ignored him. What a family of morons, he thought. They didn't even know his brother got knocked out by Orville? This was actually pretty funny. Just then, a man in a black suit hurried over to their group. He looked a little familiar, and then Charlie realized he was one of Orville's bodyguards. As soon as the man saw Charlie, he recognized him. His face lit up with respect and warmth, and he almost bowed on the spot. Charlie quickly shook his head at him. The man in black caught himself immediately, figuring Mr. Charlie didn't want to draw attention. So instead, he just said, "Right this way, guests. Your private room has been ready for a while." Harold was stunned when he heard that. Since when was the service for the gold box at the mansion this good? Someone came to greet him personally before he even gave his name? Talk about getting the VIP treatment. Gerald, standing beside him, was impressed. "Harold, man, you've got some serious pull. I think that guy works directly for Mr. Hudson. It looks like he really respects you. You know him personally? I never knew. Wow, you really keep things on the lowdown." Harold laughed, a smug look spreading across his face. No need to brag about stuff like this. It's better to keep a low profile. Elsa was a little surprised. She hadn't expected Harold to actually have some real connections in Oris Hill. Compared to Charlie, he seemed so much more capable. It seemed like getting to know Oris Hill through him would make things a lot easier for her. The man in black respectfully led everyone to the door of the diamond box. Then he took out a clipboard, handed it directly to Charlie, and said softly, "Sir, could you please sign for the room?" This diamond box was reserved specifically for Charlie. and he needed to sign to confirm it. Charlie smiled and took the pen and paper. He was just about to write his name when Harold's voice cut in. "Hey, what the hell? Put the pen down!" Harold stormed over, snatched the pen and paper from Charlie's hand, scribbled his own name down, and yelled at Charlie, "Are you kidding me? Who do you think you are? I'm the one who booked this room. What gives you the right to sign for it?" The man in black was completely stunned. He looked at Charlie with a questioning expression, as if to ask, "Should I take care of this guy for you?" Charlie said calmly, "It's fine. If he wants to sign, let him." In front of Elsa, Charlie didn't want to make things too awkward. After all, she was his wife's best friend. Soon, everyone was seated inside the private room. Harold made sure Elsa sat at the head of the table, while Charlie sat alone in a corner. Only Elsa spoke to him from time to time. Before long, waiters began bringing out incredible dishes and wine. Every dish was made with the finest ingredients. The finest Maine lobster, and even 10-pound Maine lobsters were just supporting dishes here. Even the liquor was a rare, aged bourbon whiskey, and a single half-pound bottle could sell for more than $100,000. Elsa was no stranger to luxury, but even she was shocked by how extravagant this meal was. "Gerald, Harold, how much did this meal set you back?" Harold said triumphantly, "My budget for this was $300,000. Gerald said in surprise, "This is way more than $300,000. The bottles of wine alone cost more than that." Harold was secretly alarmed and suddenly felt like something wasn't right. Thinking back on how the man in the black suit had acted, could it be that Orville had given him some kind of special treatment? But that was impossible. He'd never even met the guy. Elsa's beautiful eyes sparkled. She glanced at Harold and said, "Harold, thank you." When Harold heard Elsa's words, he smiled and said, "It's nothing, really. This is how it should be." With that, Harold smirked and asked Charlie, "Charlie, I bet you've never eaten anything this good in your life, have you?" Charlie sneered. "What makes you so sure?" Harold said contemptuously, "You're eating my food and still talking trash." If you've ever had a meal like this before, I'll eat my own hat." Charlie just smiled, saying nothing. The life he'd lived as a child was so luxurious, most people couldn't even imagine it. In the Wade family, a meal like this would be considered food for the servants. Seeing Charlie's silence, Wendy said angrily, "Charlie, what's with your attitude? How dare you talk to my brother like that? You want me to have you thrown out? Because I will. We're generous enough to let you eat with us, and you're acting like a total jerk. You're just a pathetic loser." However, at that very moment, the door to the private room was kicked wide open, and a harsh voice yelled, "Who the hell are you clowns? Who let you into this room?" As soon as he finished speaking, a man in a suit and a thick gold chain stepped in. A nasty, centipede-like scar ran from the corner of his eye all the way down to his chin. This man held a bill in one hand and a wooden club in the other, his face fierce and menacing. A dozen beefy guys covered in tattoos lined up behind him, surrounding everyone. Everyone was stunned and panicked. What was going on? The leader was a man named Blake, Orville's right-hand man. He'd made his name fighting alongside Orville back in the day and was a well-known figure in Eris Hill. This time, Orville had told him that the extremely important Mr. Charlie would be using the diamond box at the mansion and that he needed to make sure everything was arranged perfectly. But he never thought that when he was checking on the rooms, he would discover that the diamond box was signed for by Harold Wilson. He was furious, but also terrified. He was raging that this damn Harold had taken over the room he had prepared for a very important guest. He was terrified. The real guests were on their way, and there was only one banquet table set up in the diamond box. If his guest of honor arrived and saw this, he was a dead man. What was he supposed to do? At that moment, Harold stood up and demanded, "What do you think you're doing? I reserved this room. Why are you busting in here making trouble?" Blake pointed a finger at Harold. "Are you Harold Wilson?" Harold nodded proudly. "I am," Blake said coldly. "Bring him to me." Hearing this, two huge, muscular guys grabbed Harold and dragged him forward. "What are you doing? Get your hands off me!" "Shut your mouth," one of the guys snarled, kicking the back of Harold's knee. Harold collapsed to the floor, kneeling directly in front of Blake. Blake's cold eyes stared down at Harold, his glare as sharp and chilling as a knife. The sign-in sheet was thrown right at Harold's head. Blake snarled, "Who gave you permission to use this room?" Harold, trying to act calm, said, "There must be some misunderstanding. I booked the gold box in advance, and I paid the 300,000 deposit." Gerald chimed in, "Yeah, what's your problem? Harold booked this room. Don't you guys have any rules?" Blake spat on the floor and then slapped Harold hard across the face. "The gold box? This is the damn diamond box, you moron. It's for our most distinguished guests. You think a piece of trash like you gets to be in here?" As soon as he said that, everyone froze. The diamond box? No wonder the room was so luxurious and the food and wine were the best of the best. It turned out they weren't in the gold box at all. Gerald broke out in a cold sweat. The diamond box was for people so far above him, he wasn't even qualified to set foot inside, let alone use it. Wendy quickly said, "Brother, you know Mr. Hudson, right? Hurry up and explain to them." Harold, terrified, shrieked, "Shut up! What are you talking about? Someone like me would never know Mr. Hudson." "But you just said," Wendy started. Elsa watched the siblings argue, finally realizing that everything Harold had said before was just bragging. She felt a wave of disappointment. Blake sneered, "You dare to drop Mr. Hudson's name? You guys have some nerve." He stood up and barked an order to his men. "Hold this man's hand down. I'm going to teach him a lesson." Harold was immediately pinned, unable to move. A second later, Blake grabbed a nearby stick and, without a moment's hesitation, swung it down hard. My hand is broken!" Harold screamed, sweat pouring down his face. A foul smell rose from his pants as he fainted from the pain and shame. Seeing this, Gerald and Wendy turned pale with fear. Harold, who had been so full of himself just a moment ago, had been taken down in an instant. How could they not be terrified? Elsa was scared too, shaking all over. She hid behind Charlie and whispered in horror, "What are we going to do? Are they going to kill him?" Charlie patted her on the shoulder and said calmly, "Don't be afraid. I'm here. No one will touch you." Elsa glanced at Charlie, grateful. Even though she knew he couldn't possibly solve a problem like this, his words still made her feel a little bit safer. Blake kicked Harold, who was lying on the floor, and cursed, "What an idiot." Then Blake turned his head and looked at Gerald. "And you're the one who said I don't have any rules, right? Come here, you worthless piece of trash." Gerald was so scared that he started shaking. "Blake, I'm with the White family." "The White family?" Blake grinned. "Who cares about the White family?" Blake spat dismissively, kicked Gerald to the ground and said coldly, "Mr. Hudson himself just taught some idiot from the White family a lesson yesterday, and you have the nerve to use their name in his place?" "What?" Gerald was suddenly terrified. He thought his brother had been attacked by some gangster, but he never expected that it was actually Orville who beat him. Just as that terrifying thought hit him, Blake raised the stick and slammed it down on his head. The world started to spin for Gerald. His head buzzed. Blood poured from his mouth and nose, and everything went blurry. Wendy screamed in horror. Gerald was her fiancé, her only ticket into the White family. If something happened to him, her life would be ruined. "An ambulance! Someone call an ambulance!" Wendy yelled, panicking. She shakily pulled out her phone, but she was too scared to even dial, so she just kept screaming. Blake frowned and cursed. "You little brat, you dare make a call? Shut her up. Let's see how she talks then." "Yes, boss." Hearing this, the men all grinned cruelly. Wendy panicked and scrambled backward, but her back hit the wall. There was nowhere to go. "Get over here," a man with one eye said, viciously grabbing a fistful of Wendy's hair and yanking her up. Then, staring right into Wendy's face, the man drew his arm back, ready to strike. These guys were ruthless. They'd been fighting alongside Blake for years. In just a couple of hits, Wendy's face was swollen and bruised. A beating like that would leave permanent scars on her face, even with medical care. It was basically disfigurement. Seeing how cruel Blake was, Elsa trembled again, pressing herself against Charlie's back. The two of them were huddled together. Just then, Blake spotted Charlie and Elsa in the corner and barked an order. And those two, beat them senseless. They dared to take over the diamond box I had set aside for my special guests. They're just as guilty. His goon didn't hesitate, reaching out to grab Elsa. "I'd like to see you try and touch her." Charlie's eyes turned ice cold as he kicked the muscular goon to the ground. Seeing this, Blake's face darkened.
"Who the hell do you think you are?"
he snarled. Charlie said calmly, "I'm someone you can't afford to cross."
"Kid, you've got a death wish."
Charlie shook his head and dialed Orville's number. "Mr. Hudson, I'm in the diamond box right now. Get down here immediately." After he said that, Charlie hung up and looked at Blake coldly. Elsa's face was pale. Harold had just bragged about knowing Mr. Hudson, and look how horribly that turned out. Now Charlie was saying such disrespectful things right to Blake's face. He was going to get himself killed. Wendy, her face beaten and swollen, heard what Charlie said and looked at him in horror. Was this idiot still trying to act tough? Was he trying to get them all killed? Blake sneered. "You dare disrespect Mr. Hudson in front of me? You must have a death wish, or you're just plain stupid." As soon as he finished speaking, Blake waved his hand to his men and said viciously, "Take him out for me." Suddenly, a voice boomed from outside the room. "Damn it, Blake! Are you trying to get yourself killed? You dare to touch Mr. Charlie? I'll chop you up and feed you to the dogs. You better believe it." Blake froze, looking like he'd been struck by lightning. "Mr. Hudson is here. Mr. Charlie? Who is Mr. Charlie?" A second later, Orville rushed in, trembling, and kicked Blake straight to the ground. "You're an idiot! You can't even recognize Mr. Charlie? I'll kill you!" Orville kept kicking Blake, yelling at him frantically. Blake, who had been acting so tough just moments ago, now looked like a drowned rat. Elsa was speechless. What was happening? The goons were also panicking. This young guy was actually Mr. Charlie? They had just tried to attack him. They really had a death wish. Orville yelled at the others. "What are you all just standing there for? Get on your knees and apologize to Mr. Charlie." "Mr. Charlie, we're so sorry. We were blind not to see who you were. We almost messed with you. Please, let us go." The men dropped to their knees, bowing and scraping, apologizing frantically. Blake was terrified too. He dropped to his knees and begged for mercy. I'm so sorry, Mr. Charlie. Please forgive me. Please spare me this one time. Orville even slapped himself, saying nervously, Mr. Charlie, this is my fault. I failed, and I let my men bother you and your friends. Charlie glanced at Elsa and said lightly, I just invited my wife's friend to dinner. Then he looked at the others and said coldly, They are not my friends. Elsa was completely shocked. It turned out Charlie wasn't bragging at all. He really had booked a room at the mansion, and it was the exclusive diamond box. More importantly, this room had been reserved for him by Orville himself. Remembering how she had looked down on Charlie before, Elsa's face flushed red with shame. At that moment, Harold trembled when he heard what they were saying. What was happening? Charlie, that loser, was a friend of Mr. Hudson? Wendy was terrified too. Charlie actually knew Orville Hudson. The crazy part was how nice Mr. Hudson was to him. Then she looked at her fiancé Gerald, who was unconscious and bleeding on the floor. Orville wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and promised, Mr. Charlie, don't worry, this will never happen again. From now on, you can come to the mansion and use the diamond box whenever you want. As for him, I'll deal with him later. Charlie just grunted, then turned to Elsa. Elsa, I've had enough to eat. This place is a mess. Let's get out of here. Charlie's voice snapped Elsa out of her shock. What about the others? She asked instinctively. She looked at Harold, Gerald, and Wendy's awful conditions and couldn't help but worry. Charlie said casually, Let Mr. Hudson handle it. Orville immediately added, Mr. Charlie, don't worry. I'll get an ambulance and have them taken to the hospital for treatment. All right. Charlie nodded. In that case, we'll get going. Elsa was still in a bit of a daze as she followed Charlie out of the mansion. Once they were outside, Elsa couldn't calm her racing heart. She looked at Charlie, who seemed completely unfazed, and felt like he was shrouded in a fog, mysterious and deep. Charlie, what was all that back there? Before Elsa could finish, Charlie cut her off, saying flatly, Elsa, please keep what happened today a secret. If Claire finds out, she'll be upset that I'm involved with shady people like Orville. Elsa had no choice but to nod. Okay, I understand. After Charlie and Elsa left, Orville arranged for an ambulance to take everyone to the hospital. Wendy's jaw was broken, leaving her face permanently disfigured. One of Harold's hands was nearly useless, and it would take a long time to heal, if ever. As for Gerald, he had a severe concussion. Although he was out of immediate danger, he would suffer from the after effects for the rest of his life. Elsa's meeting with Doris Young from the Grand Group was tomorrow. After leaving the mansion, Charlie drove her back to her hotel and then left. Elsa was still reeling from the shock of dinner as she thought about what her future held. She had come to Oris Hill supposedly to work for the Grand Group, but her real reason was a heavy family responsibility. Her dad had told her some top-secret news. The Wades, the most powerful family of Eastcliff, had found their heir, who had been missing for many years. They had also bought the Grand Group to let the young man learn the ropes. In other words, the Wade family heir was right here in Oris Hill, and he was the chairman of the Grand Group. Although the Gardner family was well respected in Eastcliff, they were strictly second tier, 1,000 miles away from the status of the Wade family. Because of this, the Gardner family was hoping Elsa could use her position to find a way to meet the Wade family heir. If she could start a relationship with him, and that led to a marriage, it would be a huge victory for them. Even though Elsa was repulsed by the idea, she couldn't ignore the immense pressure on her shoulders to revive her family's fortunes. She had traveled all this way to Oris Hill and taken a job at the Grand Group for one reason: to get close to its mysterious chairman and find a way to catch his eye. Back in Eastcliff, Elsa was considered a top beauty among the elite. She was confident that her looks, intelligence, skills, and great figure would be more than enough to capture the attention of the Wade family heir. If she could really marry him, the Gardner family's fortunes would be completely restored. They would secure their place as a top-tier family. Just thinking about it filled her with anticipation for starting her new job tomorrow. At the same time, she was filled with curiosity about the mysterious man from the Wade family. She couldn't help but wonder, how old was this Wade family heir? What did he look like? Was he charming, tall, and handsome? She couldn't resist pulling out her phone and opening her video app. She clicked on a video in her favorites that had tens of millions of views. It was the viral video of Charlie confronting the sales director at Rare Earth with a mountain of cash. She'd watched this video over and over, analyzing it. She knew it was filmed in Eris Hill, right around the time the news broke about the Wade heir being found. Because of that, she guessed that the insanely rich guy in the video had to be the youngest of the Wade family, the chairman of the Grand Group. She zoomed in on the man's back, studying his every move. From the blurry video, she could tell the famous internet mystery man was probably in his 20s, tall and thin, but his face was never visible. Still, his build was impressive, not far off from some American supermodels. With a body like that, she figured his face had to be just as good. But then, Elsa felt a strange sense of familiarity. Why did this guy's posture seem so much like Charlie's? She dismissed the thought almost immediately. It was impossible. Charlie was just the son-in-law of the Wilson family. What kind of power did the Wilsons have? They couldn't even compare to a single hair on the Wade family's head. If Charlie really was the Wade heir, why would he be stuck living with a down-and-out family like the Wilsons? She decided she was just overthinking things. The next day, Elsa arrived at the Grand Group bright and early. Vice Chairwoman Doris Young personally handled her onboarding. Doris took her to the administrative department, walked her through her new responsibilities, and then said, "Elsa, if you ever have any questions, you can ask me directly or just come by my office." Elsa nodded gratefully, then asked cautiously, "Miss Young, I was wondering if I might have a chance to meet the chairman. Since I'll be handling administrative affairs for the company, I'm worried I might accidentally overlook something important if I've never met him." Doris was immediately on high alert. Charlie had asked her just the other day to keep an eye on Elsa, and now, on her first day, she was already asking about the chairman. It was too much of a coincidence to ignore. She had no idea what this beautiful girl who had come all this way to work for the Grand Group was really after. She said to Elsa, "Our chairman doesn't come into the office very often, but if he does, I'll let him know. If he wants to meet with you, I'll be sure to inform you." Elsa's heart sank with a little disappointment. But she managed a smile and said, "Thank you, Mrs. Young." As soon as Doris Young was back in her office, she called Charlie to report what had happened. The moment Charlie heard that Elsa had tried to meet him on her very first day, his guard went up. This woman was definitely here for him. What was her goal? Was she trying to get close to him to hurt him or to seduce him? Whatever her reason, the thought of it left a bad taste in Charlie's mouth. So he decided right then to keep his distance from Elsa, and more importantly, to make sure she never found out who he really was. That night, to celebrate Elsa's new job, Claire made a reservation at a fancy hotel to treat her to dinner. As Claire's husband, Charlie was expected to go with her. This made Charlie's mood sink. Just when he had decided to keep his distance from Elsa, he was now going to have dinner with her that very night. But, as annoyed as he was, he still got ready to go to the hotel with Claire. However, when they arrived, Charlie's jaw dropped. He realized Claire had chosen the Sky Garden at the Aurelius Grand. The Sky Garden Ballroom is typically reserved for high-profile guests, so they never offer private room service. But Charlie had managed to book the entire place for their wedding anniversary, something the Aurelius Grand had never done before. And their anniversary was just 3 days away. A massive, eye-catching sign stood at the entrance of the Aurelius Grand. The Sky Garden will be privately booked in 3 days. We apologize for any inconvenience, but it will be unavailable to all other guests at that time. Everyone who saw the notice was in shock. Someone had actually booked the entire Sky Garden at the Aurelius Grand? They never did private bookings. It was said that the children of several powerful politicians in the city had wanted to have their wedding receptions there, but they were all turned down flat. Who on earth had enough clout to book the entire Sky Garden? Claire saw the sign and gasped in surprise. Wow, the Sky Garden is actually booked? That's incredible. Charlie, standing beside her, just smiled and said, "What's so incredible? It's a ballroom, isn't it? Of course people can book it." "You don't get it," Claire said, her tone serious. "The Aurelius Grand isn't just some local hotel. It's one of the top hotel chains in the world. Their Sky Garden is their signature feature, and it's meant exclusively for high-end guests. If one big shot books the whole place, then all the other wealthy guests can't use it. That's why they never offer it for private events." With that, Claire couldn't help but sigh. I can't even imagine who this person is. To be able to book this entire place is just amazing. Charlie deliberately smiled and said, "Maybe it's someone who really loves his wife and wants to throw a wedding celebration for her." Claire's eyes widened. A wedding for his wife? Here? Wow, he must really love her. His wife is so incredibly lucky. Should come by and check it out. It'll be a mini class reunion. And what's even better is also going to be in Oris Hill for work. She'll be at the party too. I hear she's still single, so all you bachelors in the group better hurry up. Immediately, a bunch of people started replying. "Wow, congratulations! Oh, Elsa's in Oris Hill? How come we didn't know? I'll definitely be there." "What about Claire, the other campus beauty from our class? Is she coming? I heard Claire ended up with Charlie, the guy who joined our class late, right? And I heard he's still living with the Wilson family?" "Yeah, I heard that too. Not sure if it's true or not. I haven't seen either of them since graduation. I heard it's not even a real marriage, that they're married in name only. Is that true?" Claire saw the messages and said to Charlie, "Don't let it get to you." Charlie just smiled slightly. "It's okay. What they're saying is basically the truth anyway. I'm used to it by now." Elsa quickly typed a message in the group chat. "Hey, stop gossiping about people. I'm having dinner with them right now, and they're an amazing couple." "Oh, it's Elsa." A bunch of guys immediately started sucking up to her. Just then, Darren, the group leader, tagged Charlie directly in the chat. "Charlie, hey man! Even though you were only in our class for a short time, we got along really well back in school. You and your wife have to be there tomorrow." Charlie actually had a good impression of Darren. The guy was genuinely nice. He was always kind to everyone and never made fun of anyone. He was one of the few classmates Charlie actually got along with. Seeing Darren's personal invitation, Charlie replied right away, "Okay, man. I'll definitely be there to support you tomorrow." Darren replied instantly, "That's awesome. We have to catch up tomorrow." Seeing that Charlie had agreed to the reunion, Claire reminded him, "We have to get a gift for the grand opening of Darren's restaurant. We can't show up empty-handed." Charlie nodded. "Okay, I'll buy him a gift tomorrow morning." "Okay," Claire said. "Actually, I have to go to the M Grand group tomorrow morning anyway." Elsa asked, surprised, "Oh, you're going to the M Grand group tomorrow? When you're done, come find me. I can drive your car over to Darren's restaurant at noon." Claire smiled. "I think you're getting ahead of yourself. I don't have a car. I usually take a taxi or the bus. Sometimes Charlie picks me up on his e-bike." "What?" Elsa blurted out. "You're a director and you haven't bought a car yet?" Claire said, "I haven't been working that long, and I haven't made much money. Charlie and I share our expenses, and I have to help out with my mom's living costs. I can only save maybe a few thousand a month, which isn't enough to buy a car." Then Claire added, "Besides, to be honest, the bus is pretty convenient, and when the weather's nice, Charlie's e-bike is great too." Elsa said, "Sometimes you have to keep up appearances. You're the director of the Wilson Group now, and you're the one working directly with the Emgrand Group. If you don't even have a car, people are going to talk." Elsa said seriously, "Sometimes you have to keep up appearances. You're the director of the Wilson Group now, and you're the one working directly with the Emgrand Group. If you don't even have a car, people are going to talk." Charlie had to admit Elsa had a point. His wife had always been too frugal, and most of the money she earned went straight to his mother-in-law, so she never really spent anything on herself. His mother-in-law was a bottomless pit who only took and never gave. She'd saved up over $1 million just to throw it away on a shady investment, instead of spending a fraction of that to buy her own daughter a car. Thinking about it, he realized he needed to buy a car for his wife. It would make it so much easier for her to get around and run errands, and it would look better when she was meeting clients for business. Having made up his mind, he decided to go check out a car dealership first thing tomorrow morning. After dinner, the couple and Elsa left, taking a cab home together. On the cab's radio, the hosts were talking about the Sky Garden at the Aurelius Grand being booked for a private event. The hosts were amazed, saying it was the first time in history that the Aurelius Grand had made an exception and closed off the entire Sky Garden for someone. They were also dying to know who could have that kind of influence. The cab driver chimed in, "I bet you anything, the person who booked the whole Sky Garden has to be one of those crazy rich guys you see on the internet." Charlie stayed quiet, but he was surprised. It seemed like the news of the Sky Garden at the Aurelius Grand being reserved had really made waves all over Oris Hill. That night, the news spread like wildfire all over Oris Hill. Soon, it was the talk of the town, and everyone was buzzing about it. Everyone knew that the Aurelius Grand had a strict membership policy, and only their top-tier members ever got to use the Sky Garden. As for booking the entire place, forget about it. Even diamond-level members weren't allowed to do that. So the question of who could possibly book the entire Sky Garden became the biggest mystery in the city. Rumors started flying. Some said it was that super rich guy who went viral all over the country. Others claimed it was some wealthy foreigner. And then there were those who said it was a mysterious man and that he'd booked the place to throw a huge romantic wedding. That last rumor, the wedding one, seemed to be the most believable. Before long, that's what everyone was talking about, and the rumors just kept growing.